In this video we'll look at performance management. Now, performance management has been described by Armstrong and Barron in 2007 as its aims are to make the good better, share understanding about what is achieved, develop the capacity of people to achieve it, and provide the support and guidance people need to deliver high performance and achieve their full potential to the benefit of themselves and the organisation. So it's quite an elaborate definition. It's difficult to summarise because there are so many parts to the definition, but most of it comes down to a desire to make improvements, to improve performance at all levels, to improve the performance of the workers and of the efficiency of the business in terms of its design, its capability, in terms of its production layout, the capacity of the equipment that is used, the flow of material around the company, an analytical and critical view of the processes of the business with a view to improving them. Performance management is an important concept within human resource management. So it focuses more on people than on the wider issues associated with the productivity of machines or of design of the business. Performance management more specifically looks at the people within the business. The process involves the development of employees in order to achieve work objectives and organisational goals. So it's the employees who are the variable factor. It's the employees who can be developed. Training programs can be put in place, on-the-job training can be put in place, mentoring could be put in place. There are many ways in which employees can be developed and thereby acquire more skills and more competencies and be better suited to the tasks that confront them. Managers and employees work together to assess, plan, review and monitor employee performance. So it's a two-way process. The employees should know themselves what they need to do the job effectively. They know if they haven't got the skills to do a particular task. And it should be their ambition to achieve those skills, to acquire the skills and to function more effectively within the tasks that has been allocated to them. But it's the employees flagging this up with the management that should lead to action. The management should then be in a position to provide tailor-made courses or training events which will address specific requirements. It will enable the staff to acquire more specific skills, specific to the organisation and to the performance of the tasks that confront the individual. Performance management is a continuous process of objective setting, assessing progress, providing support and feedback. It doesn't happen in one period and stop. Performance management is ongoing. Organisations evolve over time. There are new issues confronting the organisation, new designs, different requirements by the customers. There are innovative techniques and new methodologies and new technologies introduced all the time. So skill updating is an ongoing process. And it's the job of the HRM department to monitor the skills, monitor what is required and assess what the employees have currently got in their armoury. What skills have they got to complete the tasks? How competent are they? And to augment those skills through the provision of more training and more understanding of the type of technologies and the type of processes that are required. So it's ongoing. It's not something that happens in a particular time period and is left and perhaps revisited in a year or whatever. This is ongoing. It's every day. And there is the accumulation of information and data coming back from the employees about their experiences. And it's collating this data or information. It's collating it and then seeing where remedial work is required, where courses or supplementary training or whatever it is are required. So it's passing the information back to HR, back to the department for analysis and subsequent provision of training and support for the employees so that they can work more effectively. A performance management system, well, effectively communicates organizational goals and objectives to the employees. The employees must know what the organization wants of them. They must know the direction in which the organization is moving. They must know what their position is within the organization, what functions are they performing, and how critical are those functions. So there must be an effective communication system that keeps the employees informed. This will enhance motivation. It'll enable them to see how critical they are to the organization and perhaps engender some sort of loyalty to the organization because they're seen as valued workers. They're important people. It's important also to establish functional objectives, employee targets and links to organizational objectives. Functional objectives could be in terms of departments who set themselves goals to achieve certain outcomes. The outcomes could be in terms of quantity, the number produced, or quality, the quality of the products. That could also be one of the criteria, one of the standards of measurements of effectiveness. But some departments perhaps fall in between. For example, research and development, which sometimes may go through long periods of not apparently doing anything. There's nothing coming out of research and development. And there are other times when it seems to be very productive. But that is the nature of discovery and the nature of innovation. Sometimes a lot happens and sometimes long periods of time can elapse before something happens. But it's establishing functional objectives that's important. The objectives should be realistic and they should be handed to the appropriate managers, and through communication systems should be the employees should be made aware of the objectives to see how well they're performing against the objectives. So targets should be set, but the targets, as I said, should be realistic, not just there for the sake of it. They should be realistic targets that are achievable. It should implement formal review techniques to communicate performance requirements. If there are no review techniques, it's difficult to say how well employees are doing or how well different departments are performing. The performances should be reviewed. And ideally, there should be some realistic benchmarks by which the performances can be gauged. So there should be some understanding of what is realistic, and what is realistic could form the basis of the benchmark. Then, conducting performance reviews and comparing them to the benchmark will give an indication of the effectiveness of the employees within that section, the effectiveness of the managers within the section. And it could be that it's not necessarily the problem with the employees or the manager. It could be the tools or the layout or the sequencing of the tasks that's asked of them. So it could be something to do with non-human processes. In other words, the design of the department. That's a given on a particular day. It needs human intervention to change it, to make it more efficient. But it's not right to blame or to accuse staff of not performing well when in fact it's not their fault. Perhaps it's the fault of the design, of the sequencing of the jobs, of the equipment that they're asked to work with. So certainly it's the case that performance reviews are important. They can be beneficial in all sorts of ways. The employees know how well they're doing, and they know what the management think of them. But the employees can also signal up the need for further training and the need for restructuring and changes, and they can flag up issues that they have encountered which inhibits good productivity. So communications should be two-way, and the performance reviews are ideal forums for the communications of ideas and to pass information from the two sides. A performance management system will conduct formal reviews and appraisals of employee progress. Generally speaking, organizations may have individual performance reviews, for example, sometimes known as IPRs. The organization may ask to see employees for a certain period of time, perhaps a half an hour or even an hour or whatever, and in this period complete a standardized form. The form may ask questions about what the employee thinks about the layout of the plant, how onerous is the job, how difficult is the task, how tiring is the whole process, what improvements would the employee recommend or see. So it can go across a whole range of opinions from the employee. And of course it can also then compare the employee's performance perhaps against some benchmark that the management have already worked out, a realistic benchmark. But the overall impact of the performance review could be to pass the information on to the management and enable the management to take corrective action regarding some issue, could be even health and safety issue, that is of concern to the employee. Uses monitoring techniques to identify learning, training and development needs. Sometimes the line manager or the departmental manager may observe employees struggling to perform particular tasks because it's not a skill they possess. Perhaps it's a skill they're trying to acquire, and it would be more efficient if the organization was to train the employees properly. So information may flow back to the HR department that this would benefit the organization, perhaps an event, a training event of some sort, where employees were shown how to do or perform the task properly. They're not trying to figure it out for themselves, which is wasting time. So monitoring, just watching the employees as they perform their tasks, could be a valuable source of information. Cyclical process which ensures continuous evaluation of progress. Well, ideally the monitoring process should be continuous. Managers should be alert and aware of issues as they arise and watch what's happening within the department, make sure that the working environment is safe and it's conducive to good quality work, and then observe the performance of the employees and see where perhaps skills need to be updated, as I said earlier, where competencies need to be improved. So monitor the situation. Some organisations may do this on a cyclical basis. For example, a performance review can't happen every day. They can't set aside a half an hour or an hour every day to talk to the employees individually. It would be too expensive. So perhaps on a cyclical basis, perhaps every 6 months or every month. Depends on the organisation, it depends on the tasks. But having some sort of cyclical review every so often, talking to the employees and undertaking this exercise is seen as beneficial. According to the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development in 2015, performance management should be strategic. It should concern broad issues and long-term goals. So performance management should really be looking towards the long run. That means that the appraisers should understand what the strategic objectives of the organisation are. Where does the organisation want to be in 3 years or 5 years' time? And see what skills will be required. Perhaps they don't know exactly what the skills are at this moment, because the technology will be a lot different in 3 or 5 years' time. But they can start moving towards a more flexible approach to working, towards a culture of change and a culture which accepts training as part and parcel of the tasks, the duties of the employee. So performance management should be strategic. It should look at the broad issues and long-term goals of the organisation. It should be integrated. The process aims to bring together all aspects of business activities, people management, individuals and teams. Performance management should look at the whole context in which the work is conducted. It may be done by individuals. It may be conducted by specialists amongst the workforce. Sometimes it may be organised in teams. The teams may be big or small teams. It all depends. But it should aim to have a consistency right across the board, so that all the employees feel that they're being treated equally and fairly. They're not being singled out or being, in a sense, punished because they find themselves working in a particular area. And sometimes the performance management system may flag up the fact that some employees are misplaced. They've got good skills, but they're in the wrong part of the organisation. They need to be moved. Moving the employees around to match their skills and their interests and their capabilities could be fostered and can be promoted through effective performance management. Performance management indicates what people can do best, and perhaps they can be moved accordingly. So performance management should incorporate a range of activities. It should assess the needs for improvement throughout the organisation, individuals, teams and organisational effectiveness. So the idea is that performance management should start with the individuals to make sure they're doing the right jobs. It matches their skills and interests, as I just said. It looks at their abilities and their competencies and sees to what extent these are matched against the requirements of the task. So it could indicate the need for training programs and for more detailed intervention by management to support the employees in the performance of those tasks. But it should lead to improvement through the organisation as a consequence. And team working and individual working can be promoted in this way. There's more explanation to the logic of the way in which the work is organised. The employees understand why it's done the way it is. And this will promote their commitment to the task, their motivation. They understand more. They're not being kept in the dark. they're not just being moved around for the sake of it, and they don't understand why. Once they know the logic of what's happening, the chances are they will be more committed. It should also, performance management, it should also have a development aspect, initiatives in place to address individual needs and training opportunities. It's not just looking at performance improvement, but it's putting in place the background which will promote the improvement. As I said earlier, training schemes are very important. Identifying specific training schemes that will address specific needs. But it will also match individuals' interests, abilities, existing competencies. It will match those and further develop them so that they're able to achieve higher performance levels, and they're able to achieve these easily within their capacity, without exhaustion or without undue effort. Managing behaviour. Well, ensure respect and value for each individual. All members follow the code of conduct. Positive working relationships. So the idea that workers, employees need training, this should be seen as part of the culture of the organisation. The fact that the employees are being appraised, their performance has been appraised, should be seen as a positive thing. It's management intervening to support the employee. It's not the management intervening to find out the motivation of the employee and perhaps take punitive action against employees who are not committed or who say the wrong things or who don't seem to be performing well. It's more supportive. It's seen from the perspective of the management trying to help the employees to develop, and it has elements of respect for the employees. The management respect the employees, respect what they're attempting to do, and trying to put support in place to enable them to achieve what they're setting out to do. So there's a positive working relationship, and this will have feedbacks, positive feedbacks in the form of higher productivity, more commitment to the organisation, more loyalty to the organisation. Managing performance involves the monitoring of employee targets and goals. Employees are assessed on their progress. Well, it's measuring the extent to which the employees have improved over a period of time. It's looking at their performance, and there's always learning by doing. The employees gain competencies, gain efficiencies by doing the task, and if they perform the task the second time, they should be more efficient than the first time, and so on. And if that's not the case, then some inquiry should be initiated to find out why isn't it the case. Why is it the case that employees continually find a particular task difficult? Is it something inherent in the task, something within the task that makes it difficult, or is it the employees that are not committing to performing the task? What is it about it? So the performance management can figure this out, can shed light on this issue. So performance management can take place within a range of activities. For example, in probation, when employees are new to the organisation, they may be monitored to see how they're responding to the new environment. They've just perhaps started within the company. How are they responding to the new environment? What is their relationship with their colleagues? What is their understanding of the processes? How well are they functioning at completing the initial tasks that have been allocated? Watching their timekeeping and their commitment to the organisation, noting the type of questions they're asking and the way they're responding to information. So it's a question of gently monitoring the new employees to see how they relate to the organisation. Appraisals. The appraisals can be set pieces, like I just said earlier. It could be individual performance reviews where the employee and the manager sit for an hour and discuss issues, and notes are kept and records are kept, and at the next meeting those records are brought out to see what improvements or what changes have taken place and to what extent targets have been met. Targets that were agreed at one meeting have been met by the next meeting. So appraisals could be done, but sometimes appraisals can be done quite simply by looking at performance for a given task. Perhaps looking at the performance today to see how well the task is performed, instructing the employee, giving them support and help, perhaps the manager being involved to show how the process works and how the task is completed, and then watching the employee tomorrow to see if the employee can perform the task individually, or does the employee again need support. Is it something that's understandable? Is the task complex? Is it arduous? Is it difficult? Does it require two people? So is it a reasonable thing to ask for support? Or is it something the employee should be able to do after full instructions on a particular day? Is it the case that the manager would have to show the employee how to do the task every day? Or what is the learning that has been absorbed by the employee during the initial training period from the manager? So appraisals can be of that format. Clearly, if there are issues, the manager should make a note of these and indicate it to HR that the employee is having problems with certain tasks despite being shown how to perform the tasks. Supporting employees. It's important to understand what the employees want from the job. Not just the salary, but they're spending a large part of their lives within the organisation. So they want an interesting job, they want to be involved and consulted, they want to feel that comfortable, they want to feel at home within the job and be able to conduct themselves freely and perform the tasks and be trusted to perform the tasks. But sometimes they need support from the management. They also need support from other employees. So there needs to be a spirit within the organisation which is generally supportive. Other employees will show them how to perform different tasks and indicate where tools are kept and how to get from one department to the next. And so there is a source of supporting information throughout the organisation. Occupational health is important to make sure that the employees are safe, and so performance management could make sure that the employees are aware of routines that are conducted periodically to safely evacuate the building or how to deal with emergencies, or they need to make sure that the employees understand not just the importance of these issues, but how to effectively contribute towards dealing with these situations. So it's important that the employees are actively engaged in understanding issues associated with occupational health, that they're not taking unnecessary risks, for example, or using machines without guards, or lifting heavy weights when they shouldn't. They should understand what was required. So it's a part of performance management to ensure that the parameters are properly set and that employees understand what they should do or should be capable of doing and what they should not attempt. So managing the workload is also important. Performance management should be it should be careful to not impose heavy burdens on the employees, unrealistic burdens on the employees. The workload should be paced. It should be reasonable. People are people. People are human. They're not machines. Even machines can break down if they're overworked. So it's important that the workloads are managed effectively, and that performance management deals with what can be done. And people should not be downgraded or castigated in any way for tasks that are unreasonable. They should only be asked to do what is reasonable. Delegating authority and responsibility is something that is important within performance management and within the activities of performance management. Performance management runs at different layers. The line manager may assess or appraise the employee, and the line manager will then be assessed or appraised by the departmental manager, who will in turn be assessed and appraised by the next senior manager, and so on, all the way up the organisation. So it's a cascading system. But the philosophy behind it should be universal. It should embrace what we've got above in terms of supporting employees, occupational health, managing the workload. It should be fair all the way through. But of course, it will look at different skills, different competencies, different requirements from each set within that hierarchy. The idea of competence is important because competence is their capacity to perform a particular task and perform it well. But over time, the employees should build up an expertise in those tasks. But there are downsides as well. Sometimes the employees are performing the same task, which can lead to boredom and some sort of alienation, a sort of anomie. They may wish to widen their experiences and get new experiences. So it's a question of widening their competency base. If they can perform a task very well, the temptation is to leave them doing that task. But as I said earlier, people are human. Humans need stimulation. They need a new environment. They need new challenges. They can't perform the same task endlessly. It's difficult. So even though they've got this in-depth competency in a particular task, it means that the organisation should still look to widening that competency, widening the experience, and perhaps even having a rotation of tasks that an individual employee undertake, that they're able to move from one task to the next, and as such vary the environment, vary their experiences, and that will give them some sort of psychological relief. They're not working on the same in the same area continuously. They're getting new experiences. The idea of autonomy is important. Sometimes workers enjoy the fact that they're being trusted to work on their own and to make decisions. It also links to competency and the workload and all the issues that we've talked about. But it's important that the employees be trusted and, where possible, allowed to get on with the job. That's what they know, that's what they can do. So they don't need constant intervention or constant direction. When they get a lot of intervention by the line manager or by the manager or whoever, a lot of intervention instructing them what to do exactly, if they already know what to do, it can be frustrating. It can be annoying, and it can lead to, again, alienation. It can actually diminish the work effort. They get fed up listening to the same thing. Whereas a less interventionist approach may stimulate more motivation. They are trusted, so they get on with the job. And when the job is complete, they can feel pride in the fact that they initiated the tasks, performed the tasks, and completed the task. They feel pride in what they've achieved. Of course, rewards and performance are linked to some extent. The very skilled workers with high competency levels will, generally speaking, earn more than the others, than people with less competencies. So there may be a range of pay scales depending on the types of tasks undertaken by particular employees. Some employees will be highly skilled, other employees won't be so skilled, and rewards will be set out accordingly. This is not a precise science. It's sometimes people on very demanding tasks and with high skill requirements may feel they're still underpaid for what they're doing, whilst others think that they're probably being overpaid. So it's a very contentious area. But performance management needs to look at the particular performance of employees, look at the context in which they're working, look at the tasks they're completing, and try to work out what is a fair system of reward for that person or for those people. But as I said, it can cause ill will throughout the organization, and it's not a precise science. So the performance management people within the HR department can get it wrong, and it's not precise, and therefore it may lead to disputes and discontent. On the other hand, it's right that the people who are making the biggest contribution, who have the most skills and are the key workers within the organization, that they should be rewarded more. It's an ongoing issue. Performance management may also be taken into account in the case of discipline. Sometimes workers may be producing output which is not of the required quality, and that could be seen as a disciplinary issue. Perhaps they're not making sufficient effort to produce good quality output, or perhaps they're behaving recklessly in their tasks, which could lead to discipline, or they're not working effectively within teams, they're being disruptive within teams. There are a whole variety of ways in which disciplinary procedures can come about. It's important to understand the performance of disciplinary teams themselves, that they are performing the task of looking into disciplinary issues and performing these tasks fairly and according to set rules and agreed procedures. It may be, for example, that outside agencies are required in this case, so as to make the whole procedure more objective. But there are issues that can arise in the context of discipline that will impact on performance. Performance may suffer if discipline within the organisation is starting to break down, if the authority of the managers is breaking down. Then there may be a fall off in productivity and a fall off in due care and attention within the workplace, which could be dangerous. It could be that there are issues of personnel working in teams who have personality disagreements, I should say. So it's important that the management understand these areas and take remedial steps before they get out of hand. Employee development is an issue that's on the cards right from the start. And in a sense, that's what we've been talking about from the start. Looking at employee development is important. Looking at training schemes and looking at ways in which the potential of the individuals can be developed. And this can only be done if there is proper performance management or appraisal techniques in place. People can only be developed if the management know what the skills and aptitudes are right now and what they're capable of. What are their aptitudes? Where can they go? And then the HR department can take some action to put in place training programs and support for those employees to enhance their skills and hence their productivity. Let's talk about probation in a little more detail. Probation is concerned with recruitment and selection of employees. Before employees are made permanent, they must pass a probation period. During this stage, the employees are closely monitored and assessed against their suitability for the job. Training, learning and skill development are identified by management and initiatives are put in place to offer support. So the probationary period is one which is used by management to appraise whether an appointee, someone coming into the organisation, is suitable for the task. It gives the management time to assess the suitability of the employee, and it also looks at whatever skills and aptitudes they've got and tries to work out what additional skills needs to be put in place and the suitability of that person for training. Now, if at any stage it's judged that the person is not suitable for training and is not suitable to the task, that they would fail the probation and be asked to leave the organisation. But hopefully the recruitment process will have carefully selected individuals for the task, and that will not happen. They will go through probation and perhaps supplementary training will be put in place to augment their existing skill set. Appraisals. Well, performance appraisals are a common approach to performance management. Appraisals ensure that employees are motivated and encouraged to reach their full potential. Appraisals are really assessments or sometimes self-assessments on the part of the person who's been appraised to see where they see their strengths and their weaknesses and what they see as their opportunities and threats and so on. It's like doing a SWOT on themselves, but also itemizing specific tasks that they find easy, difficult, that they enjoy doing, what they would like to do, where they would like to go in terms of their career, what are their aspirations. The performance appraisal approach can pick up all of this information. It can be conducted on a continuous basis, involve one-to-one meetings with line managers. It could be on a continuous basis. It could be the line manager makes observations all the time and has a chat with the person and picks up what they feel about particular tasks and what's gone right and what's gone wrong, and gets to know the operator and keeps a record. But there may be cyclical approaches to this. In other words, there may be very formalized appraisals conducted, say, every 6 months or every year. The process involves setting objectives, reviewing development and identifying training needs. Targets must be in line with organisational goals and objectives. So the appraiser knows what the organisation wants, what skills the organisation wants, and what techniques the operator must be capable of performing. The employee should have certain competencies, and it's important that the appraiser works out that these are in place. But it should also look towards developing those to a higher level, because that's how the organisation will achieve more productivity, better quality output, and a better reputation. So the process of appraisals is very important. Now, supporting employees. Well, there are three approaches to supporting employees. Mentoring is one, where an employee is associated with or are attached to the tasks of some experienced member of staff. So the mentee, the person who's been mentored, can observe the experienced member of staff performing the tasks, and he or she will go to various tasks with the experienced member of staff and make observations, make notes, and really, excuse me, it's very similar to one-to-one teaching. The mentor is the person who is imparting the knowledge, imparting the skills, and showing the mentee, showing the person being mentored, how it's done. So that's one way of developing skills and getting support from employees. It's also done by monitoring, just by watching the person performing tasks and perhaps intervening from time to time and making recommendations and making suggestions how to perform the task. So it's just monitoring, just watching, talking to the person, getting their experiences, making observations, as I said, and just gently making suggestions from time to time, which will help the person think about what they're doing, help them to improve their efficiency and improve the task. There is a term called buddying, which is a very American term, but it's sometimes mentioned in the literature. Not so much talked about in Europe or in the rest of the world, but in America it's quite a big idea. A buddying is that there is an existing member of staff who is identified as having similar personality traits or similar dispositions to work, and who's performing essentially the same sort of task as the new person arriving, and they're introduced to each other, and they can start to form a working relationship. So they help each other and they understand each other. They're similar people, so they work together, and that's a way of trying to pass skills from one person to the next. A mentor, just a few words on mentoring. A mentor is referred to as someone within the workplace who provides support, motivation and encouragement to achieve best performance. So mentoring is normally quite an experienced member of staff who's got quite good skill levels and who's willing to pass on those skills to new personnel within the organisation, to new recruits to the organisation. So the new person will see how the job is done, see how an expert does it, and will learn from an experienced person. A mentor and mentee relationship is one-to-one, where the mentor passes on their skills, knowledge and experiences of a particular job. So it is a one-to-one relationship, as I said earlier. This is an ideal learning relationship. It was once very popular in terms of apprenticeships, where apprentices were working with experts, perhaps in engineering, with expert tool makers or expert turners or millers or whoever it was. So here the employee was assigned to a particular person and was also helpful to that person, would do a lot of the menial tasks for the person, would make sure that the machines were appropriate and cleaned, and would clean up after the job and sweep the floor and so on. But at the same time they were acquiring skills, they were acquiring high level skills from that person. It was one-to-one training, which in a sense, is the best form of training. It's one-to-one. So a mentor and mentee relationship is very similar. The mentor is someone who's skilled at doing particular tasks, and the mentee is the one who's learning by watching, learning how it's done, talking to the mentor, asking questions and getting answers and getting support, and sometimes being allowed to take on tasks and being observed by the mentor, who will intervene if it goes wrong. A mentor facilitates development and opportunities for learning and gaining skills. The mentor has to be the right person. The mentor has to be sympathetic to what is required of a mentor. The mentor should adopt the role and should enjoy mentoring, should enjoy teaching that person and being involved with that person in their learning process. So the mentor should not be selfish, should not withhold knowledge. The mentor should try to give the maximum information about the tasks and the shortcuts and the tricks of the trade, and understand the nature of the tasks, and impart all of that to the mentee, to the person learning, so they become skilled as well. Monitoring. Well, monitoring is a technique which assesses progress through observation. In this case, members of staff observe individuals and don't directly make contact, but just make observations as to how well they're doing in terms of quality, in terms of their processes, in terms of their techniques of working. Monitoring can be formal. The manager observes employees' development and the employee is fully aware that they are being monitored. There's nothing secretive about this. It's not something done behind the backs of the individuals. They know that they're being monitored. But it means that the approach they take to performing tasks is being watched and being judged. It can be informal. The employee is unaware that the manager is observing them and making judgments about their progress. It's perhaps not so nice, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes in working situations, managers can't but observe. They're working in the situation and they see people working. They're not setting out to monitor. They're just there working with the employees and seeing who's doing the job and who's doing it correctly and what are the issues and what problems are arising, who's got the problems. So it could be informal and the information's flowing back in that direction. Buddying, as I said, is mostly an American term, but we can identify it as useful as well, and it's more and more entering the literature in Europe and in other places. It's a supporting technique for new employees, the buddying system. It helps new employees. Employees are assigned to an experienced employee, the buddy, who provides support and guidance. Ideally, the new person coming into the organisation should be matched with the buddy. They should have perhaps similar interests, perhaps support the same football team or have the similar views, and that's the ideal, where they can work together well. But at the same time, the new person must respect the existing experienced member of staff as the one who has authority. So there must be respect shown to the senior person. But at the same time, they become buddies. The buddy is someone that applies an informal approach, much more informal than the line manager, for example. The aim is to help the employee to adjust to the work culture. So they're helping the employee fit into the organisation. This is how the company works. This is where you will find those tools. This is so and so. This is this person who works in this department, and this is something about that person. And so the person is being acculturated. The new person is being acculturated. They're being taught about the organisation, about the personalities in the organisation, who does what, who's responsible for what. There's somebody showing them round, somebody guiding them. Occupational health. Well, performance can be managed through occupational health. Research suggests that work pressures, the environment and culture play a role in productivity. When work is intense, productivity may paradoxically suffer because quality may suffer. So it's having the right workload, that's one that's sustainable, that's important. One that's continuous and sustainable. Not putting undue pressure on people for perhaps long periods of time, because the quality of the work will start to slip. But the environment within which the work takes place is also important. They must have good lighting, good ventilation. The temperature should be right. And the culture within the organisation should be supportive. They should feel that there is support if they need it, so that they feel more at ease about working. They're not working in a situation where they feel it's antagonistic or it's confrontational. Organisations should consider ways to help reduce stress, such as keeping plants in the office, for example, or pastel coloured walls, keeping pets, well, maybe some extreme, but some texts recommended. But having areas for staff to relax, having a canteen perhaps, or a common room where people can go and sit, have a break sometimes, and have a cup of coffee or have a drink of some sort. Just generally trying to humanise the workplace so that it's not as stressful. The less stress, the more people can work comfortably. And this may be particularly the case in offices where people have to sit at desks, perhaps working on particular tasks, and they find themselves sitting at the same desk for hours and hours. It can become repressive. They need to get up and walk around. They're humans. They need to socialise. They need to talk to others. They need to have a cup of tea or a glass of water. They need to walk. They need to walk around. They need to break up the monotony. People working on the shop floor, for example, in an engineering shop, they walk around. They talk to others. That's the nature of the job. So they may have less need for this. But it depends on the organisation, depends on the product, depends on the routines of the organisation. Ensuring that any form of discrimination, harassment or victimisation has been dealt with. It's important in terms of organisational health that there is no discrimination at work, that people are dealt with fairly, not dealt with on the basis of prejudice. People contend with enough issues going to work. They don't need to contend with prejudice as well. And it does not foster any positive outcomes. It does not help the organisation in one bit. It hinders the organisation. But it also destroys working relationships. So harassment, victimisation, this type of behaviour within the workplace is very counterproductive. Now, that's putting it that way. There's another way of putting it, of course, it's downright wrong. It's unethical. But let's leave it at that and just say that should not happen within the workplace. Managing workload. Well, the amount of workload for each employee should be equally distributed. Some workers should not feel that they're carrying the burden and the rest are getting off easy. There should be equity in the workload. It should be a feeling within the workforce that everyone's pulling their weight. Managing workload should be a key element in managing performance. If employees are overworked, this will have an impact on productivity. People will burn out. If they're working continuously and a very arduous, very demanding set of tasks, they will get tired, they will become exhausted, they will become stressed, and eventually they'll be absent from work trying to recover. There's actually a loss of productivity. It's a false economy to think that people can be forced to work at very high and sustained levels of exertion for long periods. Because people are people. People will burn out. There should be part-time and flexible working staff to help manage workloads when busy periods arise. Flexible working is a solution. The organisation perhaps are able to recruit part-time staff, perhaps staff who come in the evenings and will perform several tasks for a few hours every evening, and who will appreciate the extra income from that task. Delegating authority and responsibility. Well, entrusting employees with more responsibility is a method for renewing and acknowledging an employee's capabilities. Workers feel more engaged when they feel trusted, when they feel that the management see them as capable of performing certain tasks and reward them with more responsibility. They feel more a part of the organisation, more committed. Monitoring the employee's progress is essential in order to assess if they are performing adequately within their new role. So the employees can be assessed in terms of the new responsibilities, to see if they're capable of taking on the new responsibilities. And if they are, they should be congratulated. They should be acknowledged as capable of doing this expanded task, taking on the responsibility of doing the task on their own and completing the task. They become valued members of the workforce, and they should be acknowledged as such. Careful monitoring must take place in order to avoid errors that can be costly for the organisation. When people are given responsibility, the onus is on the organisation to make sure that the employee has got the appropriate skills to do the task correctly. There's no point in giving the responsibility if the task is not completed properly. The person who's given the responsibility should understand precisely what they need to do in terms of the output that's expected of them. Competence. Well, competency is a growing concept, and organisations want competent staff to be able to perform their jobs efficiently. Competency is the ability of the employees to perform efficiently and to good quality. So they are competent, they are capable. Now, competency can be achieved through training and experience. That's important, that the people are properly trained and they have a long experience of doing the job, so they become competent at doing it. They know what's required, they know what good quality is, they know what the number that should be produced in a given time period. They can be trusted to deliver. They are competent. It can be also achieved through observation, training activities, exercises, tests, perhaps psychometric tests to make sure that their personalities are suited to the tasks that they've been given, so that they can acquire the skills easily because it suits their personality. It matches with their abilities. On competency, I should just go back for a second. On competency, there should also be some sort of innate interest in the individuals in the particular tasks. Some people like working with their hands. Some people like working with their heads. Some people like engineering tasks. Other people like working with wood. Other people like cooking, or whatever the tasks are. So there should be some sort of correspondence between the personality of the person and the types of competencies they have. The competencies should fit the personalities of the people. Now, autonomy. Well, autonomy is when employees are given powers and control over their job and decision making. This is when they become almost independent. They start making their own decisions regarding the jobs and regarding what needs to be done next and the quality and the processes and how the job is set up. Employees take on more responsibility over monitoring their performance and setting goals for development. So in this case, the employees monitor their own performance, monitor the quality of the output, monitor the number they're producing in an hour or in a day. They monitor their work progress. They know what is expected of them, and they know what the benchmarks are, and they know how they're achieving those and how well they're achieving them and what are the issues. If they're not achieving them, they're able to be open and speak to senior management about the issues and why they're not able to achieve the benchmarks. What's happened? Is there some explanation, or is there some remedial course of action that's required on the part of management? More control to the employees means that they will be more motivated and willing to develop their own goals. So more control flowing to the employees, generally speaking, results in more motivation. They've got more freedom. They've got more freedom of action. They're more motivated to do a good job. They're trusted. They're seen as valuable members of staff, that you can just get on with their work. And they're able to develop their own goals. They're able to plan their own career and perhaps use this degree of autonomy to develop their work within the organization or within other organizations. Linking rewards to performance. Well, rewards and performance are directly linked to monitoring and assessment of employees' achievements. I said earlier when we talked about this, it's not a precise science and it can be controversial as well. Line managers monitor progress and review development against targets. Now this should be done objectively. Sometimes line managers may favour certain workers over other workers and perhaps favour them unfairly. It could be a reflection of friendship or prejudice, or it could be done on any basis. It's important that the line manager's decisions be as objective as possible, and there should be some element of monitoring the line manager's decisions to ensure that there is no ill will caused in their recommendations for extra rewards to some employees and not to others. Monitoring outcomes ensures that employees are appropriately rewarded. So looking at the outcomes from different workers means that rewards can be tailored according to the output and through the quality of the output from different workers, which could have a motivational impact on the workers. It can promote more motivation to achieve better outcomes, better quality, so as to achieve more rewards. So it's a bit like incentive payments or bonus payments. Discipline. Well, codes of conduct and discipline procedures must be clearly communicated to employees. They must know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable within the workplace. There can't be bullying. There can't be prejudice or harassment or victimization. There can't be sabotage of machines or insults. There should be commitment to the organization. There should be loyalty to the organization. So the organizations who pays them their salary or their wage, so the organization is entitled to some respect. And it's important that these are understood by the employees, so there is a code of conduct and a disciplinary procedure in the event of someone breaking the code of conduct, that there is a process, and the process would be acknowledged as having a quasi-legal backing. It's an appropriate course of action to take for the organisation. The employees must be informed about outcomes if their work is below desired levels. The employees should be kept informed about their progress, about work, if the work is not good quality, or if it has to be reworked, or if other members of staff need to be involved because of incompetence or inability on the part of some operator, then the operator should be informed that their work is not of the required quality or required performance. This should be communicated. Without discipline, employees will underperform, as there is no set guidance, and this will impact on the organisation's performance. So that there should be some discipline. Otherwise, employees can just work as they wish, and it's not reasonable behaviour. Perhaps it's open to abuse. We like to think that everyone will make a fair contribution for a fair day's pay, but some may abuse it, and for that reason a disciplinary procedure is important. Employee development. Well, development strategies are the result of monitoring performance. So development strategies come out of the monitoring exercise. Strategies can involve all sorts of issues like training, mentoring, more support, more careful selection or recruitment of employees, more induction programs, and so on. Employees must be encouraged to develop their skills, and the organisation must provide opportunities for growth. So more productive organisations should encourage employees to develop their skills through training programs, through attending local colleges, sorts getting more generic qualifications perhaps. And this is increasingly important in a globalised world, because the company is in competition with companies from other parts of the world who will perhaps be low-cost producers, and perhaps the low-cost production is masking inefficiencies, but because employees are paid so little, perhaps it's possible to have a lot of production and cherry-pick the production for export. Having skilled workers, having competent workers, well-trained employees, means good quality work from the start, and that's what the organisation should aspire to. There is no waste. So the competition will be fair, in the sense that employees are producing more with better equipment, with more skills, more competencies, and are able to survive in this increasingly globalised economy and this increasingly globalised world. Employee development techniques are tailored to individual requirements. Monitoring is important as it allows management to assess appropriate training and development methods. It's pointless sending employees on training schemes that doesn't suit them. Clearly the training scheme must be tailored to the requirements of the employee or a set of employees. Otherwise, it's a very expensive exercise and a waste of time for a lot of the attendees who will not need that training. So it should be specific to certain skills and certain requirements, certain competencies. Now, types of development approaches. Well, the types of employee development. Training can be on the job, workshops, courses at college. So there are various types of training that an employer may put into place. In fact, big employers may request local colleges, local education colleges, to provide some particular courses. Learning can be formal, college courses, for example, gaining qualifications, for example, the Chartered Institute of Personal Development, acquiring particular qualifications. Could be qualifications in engineering or electronics or in science or in marketing or whatever it is. Learning can take place within the organisation as well. It's important that we start to see learning as not just lifelong learning, but learning in different situations. We acquire skills through different activities in our lives. Job rotation, gaining skills and experiences in different job roles within the same salary scale. Just rotating jobs within a company so that the employees are getting new skills, but they're also more motivated. They're getting new experiences which will more motivate them in employment. They will be more interested in the organisation, more interested in going to work, because it's not monotonous. It's not the same task over and over. They're rotating the jobs. They're doing one particular task and then moving on to a different task. So they're getting new experiences. Accelerated promotion may be a type of employee development. Opportunities for promotion, implementing schemes to help employees move up the career ladder. Sometimes organisations say, well, there are opportunities at this higher level, but in order to apply for these, then the applicants should have the following skills and the following capabilities. And once those are known to the general workforce, some people may go to college in the evening and try to get those skills, or try to develop skills from various activities that will suit what's required for promotion or to be considered for promotion. So there may be accelerated promotion possibilities within the organisation. Personal development, learning life skills. Personal development is what we achieve all the time in our daily lives. It's how we interact with others, how we conduct ourselves in the wider society. It could be members of sporting organisations or drama classes, or attendance at talks and lectures, and going on trips to see whatever it is, see old houses, or get an interest in old furniture or antiques, or whatever it is. These are all adding to us, adding to what we know about. Some people may do cookery courses, or whatever it is. It's personal development. These are things that the person couldn't do before. Now they're able to do them. They now know about new situations. They know about new things. They're able to do more things. They have more competencies. Some people can jump out of aeroplanes, or are able to scuba dive, or whatever it is. These are new skills. And although they may seem inappropriate or not appropriate to the working situation, it flags up something about their personality, their abilities, the fact that they're able to take on challenges, the fact that they are capable individuals. They're not just passively going through life, they're actively going through life. They're learning new life skills. Professional development includes gaining qualifications and maintaining a portfolio of development. More and more people are asked to maintain portfolios of development. These could be ledgers containing information which could be basic personal information, but also career development, qualifications gained, achievements, ambitions. It's a full picture of the individual. Many of these portfolios are now maintained online through e-portfolios, and in fact the course you are currently working on has an e-portfolio system. That's all we're going to deal with in performance management. It's a long talk. It's 103 slides, as you can see from the bottom right hand corner. Those, by the way, are some of the resources that were used. It's important that you stop this video from time to time, have a break, go back over it, look at it again, think about it, come back to it, make your own notes, and perhaps run the video several times to try and get an understanding of some of the issues. But that's all we're going to deal with in this session, so we're going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.